Okay, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's well. Happy Wednesday. Hope everyone's doing great. We talked yesterday about the really putting together these pieces of seeing in others, of bringing out the best in them. Last week we spoke about the concept of assimilating information, accommodating information, growth, change, changing your mind. It's all connected because if you don't have that ability to see more, it's hard to get to where you got to go. If you look through life, you see moments like this. You see proofs of this. This past weekend was July 4th. For those that live in the United States of America, it's our Independence Day. And if you think about it, the whole story of the United States of America was a story of vision. Like if you go through the history, you see it was that really, of course, every history is a little revisionist, so I'm sure the history that at least I learned growing up in the schools that I went to painted everything in the most positive picture. But fine. If you think through the beginning of this country, which at least for now, who knows what will be in the future, but for now is the most powerful country in the world, it was the vision of a few people. It was the vision of individuals who wanted to build something that was never built before, wanted to have something that nobody had before, wanted to go away from a system that everyone had and lived in. Everybody lived in the world of monarchy. There were kings and queens everywhere. Europe was the dominant power. To come to this country searching for religious freedom, which is how it started, and then to ultimately to grow into a few states that wanted to have a different way, a constitution, a democracy, open up the governing structure so that it wasn't a monarchy. In fact, I believe in the beginning they wanted to give George Washington so much power, and he pushed back because he didn't want to even be seen as a monarch. He wanted the power to be diffused. And that's how the system was set up. It was set up so that there's a legislative branch and an executive branch and a judicial branch, and they're separate. And they live in different pockets and are voted in different ways and are insulated from the world. And you see this going on, for better or for worse, depending on your politics. You see this all the time. The president can only do so much because they have a whole Congress to deal with. And that's hard for people because they're like, nothing gets done here. Yeah, almost, I heard once, or Mayor Salvachik speak about this. Yes, it's almost done on purpose. We think that government is gridlocked and they're inefficient. It's almost on purpose. Because efficiency sometimes can lead to power, too much power. The idea of diffusing power out of the hands of one. It sounds to us like it's like normal now. It wasn't normal then. It wasn't normal when in the 1700s. It wasn't normal in the 1600s. It wasn't normal when they were fighting a battle. It wasn't normal when a bunch of states had to organize itself and go up against the greatest power in the world. It wasn't normal. It was a vision. They saw what's possible. It was a vision in people. Really. That's why some people that are really American, in terms of their history and their understanding, they say things like, people do this all the time. They say things that are un-American. Now, everyone decides that they're American, right? But what un-American means is too much power. Un-American means is not playing by a certain rule system. Because the system was set up to be of the people. We the people. That concept of taking power from the hands of the few and trying to empower the hands of the many. And so many things that we have today in the government that are wrong are the bastardization of that concept. Right? The reason why the capital was in Washington was because Washington used to be a swampland. And nobody wanted to go there because most people lived in the agricultural societies, and most of your wealth was found in your fields and your farms. And you went to you served your time as a representative in the House or in Congress or in the Senate as like a civic duty. The way people will serve on a shul board or on a community board or volunteer on the local organization. They don't see it as their life. It is a temporary thing you do because that's the right thing to do. It was never, in the beginning, seen as a career. Presidents had jobs. They weren't career politicians. For sure, congressmen. For sure, congressmen. Everybody gets involved. Everybody gets in. Everybody is part of this. You don't live in Washington. You don't have a career in Washington. You live in your farm in Idaho, and you come in, and then you go back home, and you go back to your life. It's a system that is diffusing power and giving it to the many. That was the vision of this country. But the key is that it was a vision. And so when we sit and talk about changing yourself, bringing in information and trying to accommodate it in your mind so that it changes how you think, seeing the best in people, seeing the best in yourself, seeing what's possible. When we have these conversations, it's not like hokey. It's not like motivationally. You can look at actual real examples of things that have shifted the course of humanity and go to its core, and you will see that it is there too. Because the people that sat around that table, Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin and George Washington and John Adams and that initial crew, when they created the Constitution, when they created the Declaration of Independence, they were dreamers. They were on a mission. They had a vision that even they didn't know of. They didn't even know of the West. They didn't even know what was possible. They didn't even know about anything. All they knew was that the colonies wanted to create something. And they fought like crazy because they had different value systems. They wanted to create something that was different. They had a vision in the power of the person. They had the vision in what their role was. And in many ways, if you look at the history, they saw themselves as, so to speak, modern day Hebrews. That's why Ben Franklin was pushing hard that the symbol of America wasn't the bald eagle, but it was Moses at the banks of the Yams of the Red Sea. Freedom from our oppressors. Liberty. The word liberty means a lot into our history. Think about that, even if you're not from America. Like, just take a minute during the week of the July 4th weekend, and don't just look at it like a day off, or I don't really know the history, or whatever, I don't really feel it. Don't do that. Look at an example that God gave us of a bunch of people that wanted to do something that no one really had ever done before. That had a vision in believing in people. Had a vision in the spirit of an individual. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The vision of freedom. And I'm not saying it was perfect in the beginning, because it surely wasn't. I'm not even saying it's perfect now. It's still a system built by men. But think about the power of what vision can do. What seeing the possibility can do. Because we're living, for those who live here, we're living in that. We're living in someone else's vision that they saw, so to speak, in us. It's very, very different from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, but still, it's an example nonetheless. The vision of what's possible in humans, in society, in your family, in your career, in your life. It sets forth a reality that wouldn't have been there but for your vision. All right, think about this. All right, everybody, have a great day. God's help. I can't wait to see you again tomorrow.
Living on a lifeline. The world doesn't ever seem to change. Looking for the sunshine, but you're caught up in the rain. It's like your eyes are wide open, but you cannot see. You're watching life pass you by like 1, 2, 3. Walking in destruction, the winds of life blur your vision. All the devastation forever feels like you're on the run. It's time, no one else can set you free. You're locked inside, and only you have got the key.